Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you will please stand for our invocation and pledge.
Let's pray. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time, this opportunity to come and see the City Council at work. I thank you for this time we can also celebrate our young people who have worked so hard and their coaches who are pouring into their lives. We thank you for that time. Help us now. May all of our words and our actions be appropriate and approved and glorify your name. Be with us now, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
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 Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Alderman, roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1.
Here.
Jay Steph, Ward 2. Gary Roth, Ward 3.
Here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4.
Here.
Gary Fox, Ward 5.
Here.
Taft Wren, Ward 6.
Thank you, Meredith. First order of business is the approval of our council meeting minutes from January the 4th. And council, you've had these in advance of this evening, had an opportunity to look them over. Now would be the chance to make any edits. And if there are none, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. We have got some more great football players here tonight. We did this last meeting. We'll do it the next meeting too. But Mr. Anderson, if you get us started off, talk to us about these young men who are with us tonight.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. As our Cartersville Parks Recreation Department tradition would have, we always like to recognize our state champions, and our 10 and under All-Star football team follows in the steps of our state champions. They won 2 championships. They won the 5th District GRPA football championship, and which qualified them to go to state, and they traveled to Savannah and won the state GRPA Class A championship. The players, our coaches, Josh McWhorter and his staff, and our fans and spectators, they represented Cartersville extremely well. And one thing I do want to add is this was a true all-star team. Our team is made up, these boys played in our league on different teams. Best players were chosen to make all-stars, and this is a result of that. They did a fabulous job. I think you have a proclamation for them.
I do. Before I do that, I'm going to let their coach, Josh McWhorter, step forward and say a few words about his team and how they overcame your coaching.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that is very, very true. And thank you for having us and hosting us tonight. Mr. Mayor said to keep it to about 25 minutes, so I'm going to do just a hair less than that. But the kids, first of all, represented the city in an unbelievable manner. They played the game the way the game was meant to be played at all times, and they were very respectful and yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, everywhere we went, even staying at the hotel on Friday night before the game. So from a city's perspective, I think you wouldn't be prouder, or you couldn't be. Fans showed up representing the city as well, and then obviously the kids deserve all the credit in the world. We had one bad game where I don't think we played our best. It was played a good team, but outside of that, we pretty much blew people off the field. I don't think there's any denying the fact we had the best linemen in the state of Georgia. We had probably 4 backs that were faster than any team out there. So the Cartersville High School has something coming up. 2 plays I want to recognize real quick, and I'll be done. And this just sort of goes to show what these kids did. We had one play, if you can fathom this, it was Wildcat, gun ray opposite, X motion reverse, slot, crack and shoot. And it was ran to perfection, touchdown, every kid did their job. The whole idea that they could even remember half of that was amazing. The second one, we had a play where we had a kid return an interception, 80 yards, which is the full length of the field for our age group. But that wasn't the amazing part. Luke Parker, who I recognize, he was in a different position for us. The thing that I found interesting is he ran that entire way helping block for Jacaden so that Jacaden could score. And you could see him on the film sprinting as fast as he could. And I think we all know Luke's not as fast as Jacaden, but did his absolute best. So we're honored. Thank you for having us tonight, and look forward to doing it again next year.
Thank you very much. I do have a proclamation for you guys, and I got a copy for each of you. And I am real proud, and this entire council's proud of you, the entire city's proud of you, not just for what you did on the field, but for the way you represented our city down in Savannah off the field. So people around the state know Cartersville, and they'll know good things thanks to the job that you guys did both on and off the field. I've got this proclamation I'll read. After that, we'll kind of pile in over here and get a picture, give everybody a chance to take a photo or two, and then we'll move on from there. This says, whereas the Cartersville 10 and under All-Star football team went undefeated in their season, and their wins included 2 championships, which awarded them titles of the North Georgia 5th District Georgia Parks and Recreation Association champions and the Georgia Parks and Recreation Class A state champions. And in the GRPA 5th District tournament, they won 44-0 over Gordon County and 30-16 over Calhoun and 6-0 over Bartow County. They traveled to Savannah for the GRPA state tournament to play South Georgia champions and won against Savannah Stars 31-6. Players on this winning team are Ja'Kai Delgado, Peyton Emery, Landon Heath, Pierce Kinser, Jacaden Leonard, Braylon Long, Bear McWhorter, Brody McWhorter, Adam Reed, Caden Noriega Alleman, Jabari Nunnally, Luke Parker, Xavier Parker, Thomas Peters, Jacavian Porter, Mason Tompkins, Davis Waddell, Bryce Wilson, Trayshawn Winters, and Jordan Woods. And whereas the head coach Josh McWhorter and their assistants Jacob McWhorter, Ricky Heath, Kenny Pearson, and Tyrone Davis are to be commended for giving unselfishly of their time, effort, in the development of these young players. Therefore, I, Matthew J. Santini, Mayor of the City of Cartersville, along with the Cartersville City Council, use this means to encourage all residents to acknowledge the outstanding season of the Cartersville 10 and under All-Star football team. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Let go. He's still coaching.
What's up?
You're welcome very much. Oh Lord, let me get out of the picture. Stay in the pictures. Come on, let's go. You're gonna be in a big. They're good. They're being nice.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys are welcome to stay, but I know that you might have some other plans for the night, got a basketball game or dinner or something good on TV. You all enjoy your night.
Yeah. Cutting in that tech. Too late. We already went over. It's too late to get there. Yeah, for a kick, for first pitch. I could show up at halftime, but that's why I have a 65-inch TV, so yeah. Yours is pretty nice. I can't afford things like that. I bought one of the fancy OLEDs.
What brand?
LG.
I was gonna say if you said Samsung.
Yeah, no. LG's
They're an
pricey.
excellent. They're an excellent TV. But the cost.
Yep.
Wait. You got a trophy case? You got a trophy case?
Man, people they move that faster than in the football.
Sounds like a budget item.
That's try
the
to
public to see it.
feel the temperature drop as they leave the
Is the
room.
room for the main officer? I know that.
You mean nobody
All
else
right.
cared about what we're doing tonight?
The latest
Evidently
boys,
not. Where's Randy Menino?
He's outside.
I tell you what.
Ready to take off with him?
Yeah.
I tell you
He's
what,
outside.
Greg. We have to go in order. Are we?
No.
Are we?
You,
Since you're
Mayor, you
standing
said
up
you
here,
were-
why don't you
you
go
wanna
ahead and
do
get your
your
stuff?
stuff?
We'll get rolling.
There's Randy, he snuck in.
There's Randy.
Oh, never mind. We'll go ahead and get Randy started on his stuff. Come on, Randy. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and please get us started with the appointments to the Planning Commission?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you're aware, the Planning Commission consists of 7 members, and their terms are for 4 years, except for the mayor's appointment is a 2-year term. With the recent election, we have the 4 members whose terms have expired. They are all willing to continue to serve, and from my understanding, everybody will be reappointing their previous member, and Gary Fox will be recommending Greg Culverhouse to take the position of Sandra Klein. All of y'all should have a copy of his application on the desk in front of you, and we recommend approval of these new appointments and reappointments for Planning Commission.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Continue on, Randy, with Z 1703.
Thank you again. This is a second reading of a zoning request. This particular request was heard at the last meeting. Is for Harbin Clinic on Gentilly Boulevard. It's currently zoned MU. They need the OC office commercial zoning category. With that, Planning Commission did recommend approval, and there have been no additions or changes since the first reading.
Okay. Any questions for Randy before we open up the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll open up the public hearing for case Z 17-03. Anybody wishing to step forward, speak for or against, may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for Z 17-03 and leave it to council for any further discussion or motions. Okay, I've got a motion to approve. Do I have a
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Randy, next item, please, T 1701.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor. This is also a second reading. This is a proposed text amendment. If you recall, back in September, we did amend the alcohol ordinance dealing with breweries and brew pubs. With that, we had to go back and amend the zoning ordinance to place categories for those particular uses. With that, Planning Commission did recommend approval. There was a brief discussion from the Planning Commission about separation from daycare facilities, went back and talked to the Alcohol Control Board, and we felt it would be better to have that separation placed in the alcohol ordinance as opposed to the zoning ordinance. With that, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this text amendment.
Okay,
And this is second reading, if I didn't
thank
already
you.
say that.
Any questions for Randy on this text amendment? Now I'll open up a public hearing for T 17-01 and give the opportunity for anybody to step forward and speak on that right now. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back over to council for their consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item, Randy.
Thank you again. This is a rezoning request. This is a first reading. This is Z 18-02 for the property located at 518 North Gilmer Street. It's a .174 acre tract. Gilmer Street is primarily a residential street. There are 3 or 4 tracts directly on the road that are zoned industrial that date back several years. The majority of them do have single-family houses on them. This particular lot had a single-family house on it until 2010, and they got a demo permit, and it was removed at that point. The applicant, Chris Brock, who called Mr. Hardegree after the work session, let us know he has the flu and wasn't going to be able to make it, and we actually appreciate him not coming with the flu. Since this is a 2-reading requirement, he will be in attendance at the second reading, and I think we can move forward with this first reading
I
without
would
them.
joke with Chris that I'd appreciate him not coming either time, but I'm just kidding.
We could probably arrange that too. This application was properly posted and advertised. There appears to be no conflicts of interest, and we did review it based on the standards for exercise of zoning powers. Planning Commission held a public hearing. There appeared to be no comments from city staff regarding rezoning this to single-family residential. And with that, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this application.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Randy on this item? Thank you. I'll open a public hearing for Z18-02 and give anybody an opportunity to step forward, speak for or against at this time. And seeing none, I will close the public hearing for Z18-02. And again, this is a first reading. Council will take this up for final consideration at our next board meeting, which is February the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. All right, next item, Mr. Grove, service delivery strategy.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as discussed in work session, late 90s, House Bill 489 brought in a new system of reviewing services that are shared between governments, cities and counties, and required those governments to review the services that they share and that they supply every 10 years when they update their comprehensive plan. Pursuant to that, Bartow County has been reviewing services with the cities that they contract with and work with. And the mayor and I met with counterparts in Bartow County to go over some of the services highlighted, got commitments on several, got an agreement to continue discussion of things like water, solid waste, roads, E911, property tax, and in general how we split payment for those services. We do have a couple meetings, and we've got one meeting set to review the water contract. They are our biggest water customer, and got a commitment to go ahead and set up the state-required advisory board on E911. They're under a deadline of February 23rd to have this turned around and get it back to DCA. What you've got in your packet are two forms. You need to ignore one of them. The Form 5, which would extend the deadline, we don't need that. Form 4 is the one with the signatures on it, and it's recommended that you authorize the mayor to sign that. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I don't, other than, again, we had that meeting. We have assurances that even though we're signing this agreement to keep from the 6-month extension from kicking in, save a lot of bureaucratic type of paperwork and pencil pushing, but we've got a relationship that I believe we trust our friends at the county that, you know, we'll have further discussions to kind of further tighten up some of those agreements that are hanging out there. And there's certainly, you know, this isn't like closing a window on any kind of discussion or anything. It's not a deadline where we can't change anything moving forward. It's just like I said, this document just gave us an opportunity to kind of put some things on the table, and it was well received, and just know that we've got to try to resolve some of those agreements, or at least update them a little bit. So if there's no other discussion or questions, Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the strategy overall and let the mayor to sign any necessary documents.
All right, and I've got a motion, and Mr. Fox just seconding that, so all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Bob, you've got the next four, please.
Good evening, everyone. First up is our intent to finance resolution. As we discussed earlier, essentially this is a mechanism that clears the way for some of our larger capital projects. We have done this prior. I believe there was a resolution passed on June 2nd of 2016 for the same purpose. Due to the passage of time, the change in council members, and the change in the project mix, everyone thought it would be prudent to bring this back before you for your consideration again. The resolution, it states an amount of $60 million. That does not obligate us to borrow that amount of money. That was just if we wanted to go out and borrow the money to do every single project on the list, we'd be covered. And essentially what we get out of this is any funds that we expend prior to issuing debt, we would then be allowed to refund when the debt is issued. So this allows us to accelerate the schedule on these projects as we see fit, and to be able to put those monies back into reserves when the debt is issued. It just gives us some operational and financial flexibility that we don't have without it. And so would ask your consideration and approval of it.
Okay.
Of course, any final financing does come back through them when we actually know what we're borrowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the other part of this too is obviously each of these individual projects would come back before you on an individual basis.
Okay. Very good. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item, please, Bob.
Yes, this is, it's essentially a material restock. It's the pipes, parts, things that we use to fix, repair, and extend water lines. We do, you know, roughly 4 or 5 of these a year, depending on how busy we are. This particular material we bid to 3 companies. Kendall Supply was the low bid at $6,883.50, and would recommend them for approval.
Okay. Again, any questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Keep going, Bob.
Yes, sir. Next up, water tank cleaning and inspection. This is something that we do on a regular basis, roughly 5 years. This will actually be a little bit short on that 5-year cycle, but it is because of a project we want to do. It'll be the next item on the agenda. Essentially, we took bids for inspecting and cleaning all of our water storage tanks. We put the job out to 3 companies. SE Diving Services, who we have used before, was the low bid at $14,100. A note on their bid, there is a very good chance that it could be less than the $14,100, because the way they bid was they gave us a price for inspection, and if the inspection deems a clean out necessary, they gave us unit costing on a per tank clean out. So if they go in there, see one, and we're like, you know, we don't need to clean that out, it'll be less than this.
Okay. Great. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And then the next item.
Yes, sir. Last up, this is being done for various reasons. We would like to start putting mixing devices in our storage tanks. The 2 tanks that'll be up first are the tanks that are the farthest out on the system. They have the longest resident time for the water that's in them. That dynamic causes a water quality issue sometimes in the summertime. The heating and the amount of time that the water spends in the tank, what happens is the tank will thermally stratify, and there's a warmer, less dense layer of water that tends to ride up and down in the tank instead of the tank staying uniform. This mixer simply will sit in the bottom of the tank and roll the tank vertically to keep that thermal gradation. Essentially, it'll eliminate the thermocline. And we took bids on this. You'll notice that there's quite a range in the bids. We are recommending the low bid from Southeast Tank, which is a Grid B mixer, in the amount of $23,728. We have talked to several people who use these mixers. They're all very happy with them, and we feel certain that they will do exactly what we need them to do. So would recommend that for your approval.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Bob? If not, a motion's in order. Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We need to replace a couple of mowers. We solicited bids. The low bidder was Ag Pro at $14,574.99. We're getting a walk behind and a riding. And these are budgeted items, and it's GMA lease pool.
Okay.
Is it John Deere?
Yes, sir. Both of them are John Deere.
Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All favors indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank
carries
you very much.
unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Porter, you got the next item?
Yes, Mayor, this is an annual renewal for Barracuda Mail Archive software in the amount of $7,716 is the budget item. I recommend approval of this.
Okay. Any questions for Dan on this? And if not, a motion.
Did we approve?
Got a motion to approve?
Second the motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Hasselbrock.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We recently, as you know, had a ice and snow event on December the 8th, and it was a little bit bigger than Cartersville Electric could handle, and we called for outside assistance, and we received assistance from the City of Calhoun, the City of Griffin, the City of Noonan, and Trees Unlimited. And what we typically do, we have a policy that, or a practice, if we feel like we can't restore the power to our customers within 24 hours using our own forces, we will call for outside assistance. And so, and we had to in this case. And the expenses that we've been invoiced from these four entities is $58,992.30. And I'm recommending or asking council to approve the payment of these invoices.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Just a comment from earlier, you and I couldn't recall times when we had to call anybody in, but I know as a routine matter that we send people all the time to assist with their emergencies. And I suppose as part of the payment, you let these folks know how much we appreciated them coming in and helping us.
We're having some hats made up, thanking them from City of Cartersville hats, and all these linemen love hats, so we're going to give them hats. But we very much appreciated their help because you don't realize it until you need it. I'd rather send help than to receive it, but this was a situation we're thankful we had people that came to our aid.
Thank them for us.
Well, and like you said, yes, please do that. And again, our guys, by the time they got here, our guys had been spending almost 24 straight hours out hanging from cold poles and pretty much pushed themselves to the point of exhaustion. So they were welcomed help, and certainly appreciate that as well. So, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson. Yeah.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. We took bids for the Dillinger Park entrance sign base and columns. They were advertised. We received 4 bids back. Bids ranged from the low bid of $31,365 to $106,000 plus dollars. I'm recommending the low bid from Steve Dutton Masonry in the amount of $31,365. You can see on our board the lower part is a type of rendering, the sign base, and then there will be 18 columns, 10 columns on the east side of the drive, and 8 columns on the west side of the drive. The posts in between are 8x8 posts. There'll be 8x8 treated posts, and they'll have a custom cap and a custom hanger on each one of them. It'll be a massive, strong-looking, aesthetically pleasing fence barrier that we hope. And I request your approval on this, and Mayor and Council, or Mayor to sign any and all related documents.
I didn't ask this in the work session. I probably should have. What is the time frame on the construction of that?
Sometime around the 1st of May.
Okay.
Have you got a picture of the face on there?
Picture of the what?
The face of the sign?
Yes.
I thought there was.
Just the very bottom of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll
Is
be
that
something.
the color it's going to be?
No, that's just a color I put up there. I don't choose the colors.
What color are they going to be?
Thank God, if that's what you picked for this.
It'll be earth tone. It'll be some type of earth tone colors to match our buildings and stuff. But the only change in this is the Dillinger Park sign exactly, except the bottom we had a location for. We had summer hours and winter hours. I want to get away from that. So we're putting the physical address of each location. The Sam Smith Park sign, although the sign, it'll be the sign that is for that park. There will not be a rock or a stone base. It'll be erected on 8x8 posts. It will be a double sign where you can see it from going north and south from Dothan Ferry. And then as Dothan Ferry is widened, then that sign can be put up, and it can be put on a, well, be after my time, but it can be put up on a regular stone base.
Don't think by me asking all the questions about this stuff, I'm trying to breathe down your neck when I'm questioning, because I think the stuff that you've done in the park is great, and I know this will too.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I do think the entrance will look good. You know, we've got the Dillinger Park entrance now is, as I mentioned earlier, we've got posts and chain, and those were installed in the late 80s, and those posts are rotting off. So this gets it more off the right of way. Those dogwoods will be, this fence will be behind those dogwoods, and then we will be planting new dogwoods in between those as those dogwoods we have now are getting old and diseased, and so we'll let these other dogwoods grow before the others are taken down.
If it makes sense to you too, based on the conversation that we had in work session, as we roll into budget, you may want to take a look at the back entrance and maybe the thing up in the triangle. I think Carrie mentioned that. I think that's a good idea.
Well, the back entrance would be easy, and would have to, the front entrance, it was a man-made, but anyway, but we can look at it, and you mentioned earlier about a digital sign. That's something that we would love to have at some of those locations if we're council's ever ready to do that.
Don doesn't want to pay for it.
All right, enough of that. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next one, Greg.
Yes, sir. This bid is for for concrete work at our new shelter area. Bids were legally advertised. We received 6 bids back, bids ranging in price from $6,300 to $30,750. And this is for forming, pouring, and finishing the concrete. We will be furnishing, the city will be furnishing the concrete from ever who furnishes the Public Works' concrete. And I will expect that to be around $4,500 worth of concrete, somewhere around 35 yards of concrete is what we expect to pour. But I'm recommending the low bid from Elements of Construction, who is also doing the construction on our shelters also, so they got the bid for this also. This is also it's bond project money, but we also received a $100,000 grant from the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund that will be going towards a portion of this, and I recommend the low bid again from $6,300, and recommend that Mayor be allowed to sign all related documents.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. You've got a change order for Leak Mountains Trail.
Yes, sir, Mayor. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel on the Leak Mountains Trail. It's been a long time coming, but we do have a couple of change orders from our contractor, Llewellyn Construction. We have 2 contract modifications. These total $39,884.16. One of these change orders is for the entrance to the trailhead on 11361. Coming out of that entrance into the state highway, they're requiring us that they're actually giving us a break, requiring, instead of what they could require us to do is a 35-foot radius, they're knocking that down to a 25-foot radius, but that is $9,000 of this change order, and the remainder of this change order is related to the bridge and the abutments and the piling, the helical piers in it. The second part of this change order is from Southland Engineering, who is doing the testing for this. They're subcontracting through Nova, and because of the bridge changes and the expenses, the testing increased to the amount of $7,252.42. And I'm recommending approval of both of these through Llewellyn and through Southland Engineering. And requesting that mayor be allowed to sign any and all related documents.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Need to get that done by warm weather. I know somebody wants to ride their bike across it.
If there's no other discussion, the motion's in order.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Greg. Mr. Lovell, you've got the next item relative to Anheuser-Busch.
Yes, Mayor. The Public Service Commission has determined that a gas service line to Anheuser-Busch now needs to be regulated and monitored pursuant to the federal guidelines and state guidelines that the Public Service Commission monitors. Anheuser's approached the city and asked if we would be able to do that for them since they are not capable or qualified to do that, and we've agreed to do so. And before you tonight is a draft agreement which is going to be finally approved by Anheuser probably in the morning, and I'm recommending its approval subject to final approval by the city manager, Mr. Riggs, in my office.
Okay.
Goes under 75.
The portion currently goes under 75, though we anticipate the PSC will probably expand that to include everything under 75 to the plan as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any questions on this? And if not, a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Riggs.
Yes, Mayor, we have a tax bill on our gas in storage in Monroe County, Mississippi, and it's $6,464.33.
Okay. Questions, comments, or motions?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Gary. Chief Carter, you got the next two, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We respectfully request authorization for the mayor to sign a letter to the Georgia State Fire Marshal. This letter verifies that we're requesting that our fire marshal and our assistant fire marshal be deputized under the State Fire Marshal's office to assist in fire scene investigations. We've been doing this since 2009. We find that this gives us another verification process for all of our certifications and training. It also allows us, if there's a delay, for the State Fire Marshal to respond, to go ahead and begin certain procedures and processes that their office would use. And we were just asking your positive consideration on this. It's been reviewed by legal and approved. No budgetary impact.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Continue.
Yes, sir. We was doing a semi-annual maintenance on our tower truck, and when we got into the garage, we knew that going into the shop that we were going to have to replace some tires and possibly some brakes. But as we got in there, we found that we were going to have to do some extensive engine work, replace some head gaskets. We also have got some radiator repair to do. We're bringing to you tonight requesting approval to proceed on with these repairs that we've already started. We're looking for an amount up to but not to exceed $21,000. This is budgeted through our vehicle maintenance and will be handled by our city shop.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? If not, a motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries
Mayor,
unanimously.
while we've got the chief was telling me an interesting story this morning about a fire hydrant over on Cassville Road that I think you'd like to hear.
Well, you know, sometimes it's interesting when we can find so many tragic things that actually occur, and when you can have that good feel good kind of story. We had an engine company that had left the station yesterday afternoon for a routine checking the roads before dark. It was just afternoon. They just happened to notice that one of the fire hydrants appeared to be damaged. We tried to pay attention to detail, but as they went around, they decided, something didn't feel right, so they went back to double check on the fire hydrant. And as they got out and was inspecting the fire hydrant, they noticed some skid marks. And they started following the skid marks. Well, lo and behold, they found not visible from the roadway in the bushes, they found a truck that was upside down in the ditch. And they're like, oh, wow, okay, so maybe they're out. Well, no, they wasn't out. And they were actually able to recover a gentleman who had been hanging upside down for 2 hours. We've been able to determine that. And it's just one of those things about being in the right place at the right time, and it's just a good testament to our people out there that are paying attention and trying to take care of the city. It's a good story.
Is he all right?
He's doing well.
Good. Yeah. Fantastic. Ooh. All right, we have 3 items to add to the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to add those 3 items.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. 3 items added. We'll start with you, Mr. Porta. No, Mr. Hasselbrock, pardon me. Didn't have my glasses on. Don, Dan.
Come to you tonight to, Sterling Planet is a company that we've used in the past to provide green energy certificates for customers of ours who wish to purchase electricity and certification that certifies that they're a green renewable source of energy. And we were offered a contract for 0.00077 cents per kilowatt hour. And this contract, we thought we had a little more time, but they said the prices are so volatile and the demand for this green energy has gone up. So they've offered us a price to hold the price for 14 days, and the next price increase will go up about 17%. And so we're hoping to lock in. That's why we had to add the item tonight to get under that time constraint. And we're asking council to approve the contract with Sterling Planet Incorporated, and Aquafield wishes to purchase some of these green energy certificates. So we're asking that you approve that contract also. And Keith has reviewed these contracts and has approved these contracts.
Is Aquafield the only company that purchased these?
Currently, yes. We've had other people to inquire about those, but currently they're the only ones doing that. And it gives them an opportunity to say to their customers that, hey, I'm using green energy, and the source of these certificates is wind, or the certificates back the wind. So that's the green energy.
Just another way we're going above and beyond for Aquafield.
Yes.
Chair will entertain a motion. Got a motion to approve?
I second that motion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
you, Don. Mr. Lovell, you have the next two, please.
Yes, Mayor. The first item is a agreement with the Mercer Group, Inc. to retain them to provide assistance and guidance for us in retaining a new city manager. The amount of the contract is slightly over $18,000, and it does detail all the services, and I do believe it is recommended by our existing city manager for your approval.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
I'd say there are maybe 4 or 5 firms that have national reach. This one has got Georgia ties, and the person conducting the search is the retired Athens Clark manager that will do a real good job for us.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other discussion, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
The next item, Mayor, is we're requesting that the city authorize our office to begin the public process to amend the charter to allow the city to have the option of retaining a new city manager under a contract instead of at will.
Okay. And is there any discussion on this item? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Reinhardt, the finance report, please.
Honorable Mayor and Council will be looking at the financial report for November 2017 and comparing it to November 2016. In the general fund, revenues decreased over last November by $4,000. Expenses increased by $824,000. 3 areas of revenue I look at on a monthly basis are local option sales tax, have an increase there of $71,000. Police fines and forfeitures, an increase there of $46,000. And building permits and inspection fees have a decrease of about $64,000. In the water and sewer fund, revenues increased over last November by $138,000. Expenses increased by $703,000. This is due to increased personnel, increased operating, and increased capital expenses. In the gas fund, revenues increased over last November by $591,000. Expenses increased over last year by $172,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and increased capital expenses. The electric fund revenues decreased over last year by $1.9 million. Expenses decreased by $74,000. This is due mainly to decreased cost of purchased electricity and decreased capital expenses. In the stormwater fund, revenues increased over last November by $24,000. Expenses decreased by $44,000, and this is due mainly to decreased capital expenses. In the solid waste fund, revenues increased over last November by $47,000, and expenses increased by $101,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses and increased operating expenses. And finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last November by $56,000, and expenses increased by $216,000. This is due to increased operating expenses and increased capital expenses.
Okay. Questions?
Electric, storm, and solid waste reflect the deficits for the month. General fund gas and solid waste are deficit year to date. General fund and gas deficits are starting to correct with the onset of cold weather and property tax coming in, and unrestricted cash is down slightly.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion for Mr. Reinhardt on the finance report? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before council this evening? If there's none, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let's do adjourn.
Adjourn.
Got it.
Stay gold.